Thessalonians. Now you have disagreements about whether certain other passages, particularly in Matthew 24 and Luke 17, are the rapture. I would say most likely they are, actually, where Jesus spoke about one shall be taken, one shall be left.
Right.
Let's look at it in Luke 17. Luke 17, I'll take it from verse 26. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will also be in the days of the Son of Man. They ate, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built, but on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day he who is on the housetop and his goods are in his house, let him not come down to take them away. Likewise, the one who is in the field, let him not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Whoever seeks to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life will preserve it. I tell you, in that night there will be two men in one bed. The one will be taken, the other left. Two women will be grinding it together. The one will be taken, and the other left. Two men will be in the field. The one will be taken, and the other left. They answered and said to him, Where, Lord? So he said to them, Wherever the body is, there the eagles will be gathered together. So in this passage, Jesus says that there's going to be a separation. Two people, two men in one bed, nothing to do with homosexuality. They just happen to be asleep.
Yes.
Two women outside, two women in the mill, inside, two men in the field outside. Wherever they are, one will be taken, one left. Now, there is a view actually that the unbeliever's taken, but I'm going to skip that one for the view of not complicating it too much.
Right.
From my understanding, it actually is the believer who's taken, the unbeliever left behind. And then the body, the image of the image and of the eagles and the body, or the vulture and the body, as a dead body attracts vultures to it in the wilderness, so the Lord by his presence will attract those who are believers in him, who have the Holy Spirit, and they'll be caught up to meet the Lord as he comes. Now the issue, of course, is whether that happens before the tribulation, in the middle of it, or at the end. Do you want me to give you the reasons for that?
Yes, let's just come back for it. So in other words, where you've got this phrase, and especially in, I think in 1 Thessalonians 4, and then we'll move on, just so that folks that are following us, is there any other way that phrase, and it seems to me to be quite clear in the English, and you've obviously explained how we get the word rapture from that. It says, then we who are alive and remain, because he was talking about that some will sleep, obviously, because the Thessalonians were all tied up about it. So he first of all was saying, but those who are alive, obviously at that point, when you go, will be caught up together with him. Now it seems to me that can have no other meaning, but is that in some way changed by some people to mean something else?
Not that I know of. I mean, I think wherever you place it, it means the same thing, that those who are alive will be caught up to meet the Lord.
Yes. Yeah.
Along with those who've died beforehand. So Paul was actually writing here to the Thessalonians. They're worried about people who've died. Will they see them again? And the answer is yes. Those who've died in faith and those who are alive at the time of the second coming will gather together in this event, which will bring us into the presence of the Lord. And then he says, thus we shall always be with the Lord. So that's the hope. That's why also in Titus it's called the blessed hope of the church. So,
yes.
So that we have.
And it says that we'll be caught up together in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air.
Yes.
So that does seem to be a very different time to when it talks about Jesus coming back and his feet standing again on Mount Olives, if we are to be caught up with him in the air. Yeah. So it does seem to me to be a very different time.
Yes, I mean, whatever your view, actually, there have to be two stages, because the coming of the Lord to the earth, as you said, it speaks in Zechariah about him standing on the Mount of Olives. In Revelation it says he comes back with the armies of heaven clothed in fine linen, which I take to be not only the angelic host but also the redeemed, those who've been redeemed, and will be with him as he comes, and he comes back to defeat the armies of the Antichrist and the false prophet at Armageddon. So excuse me. So there does seem to be a difference. Now, it could be that you go straight up and straight down.
Right.
It's not impossible with the Lord. So that's the post-tribulation view, that the rapture of the church is the saints going out to greet him as he comes into his glory, as like people went out to greet Paul as he went into Rome. So that you have a following with him, and that the transformation will happen instantaneously, which again, it seems difficult for us to imagine how millions of people could suddenly be changed, but with the Lord nothing is impossible. So that's the post-tribulation view. And taking Matthew 24 verse 31, which says immediate, verse 29 actually, Matthew 24, one of the major points for the post-tribulation view is this one, Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from heaven, the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. Then all the tribes of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with the great sound of the trumpet. They will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. So in that case, it's more or less instantaneously. They're gathered together as the Lord comes. And it does say there after the tribulation. So the pre-tribulation view on that one is that this is the gathering together of the tribulation saints, or of the elect of Israel, as Jesus returns. So that's... I haven't really dealt with the pre-tribulation.
No,
so
let's I mean, just let me say, first of all, for me, I have to say, I never believed in the rapture for a long time. And I just tried to work out that everything was one coming.
Yes.
One coming, one coming of the Lord. But when I really eventually got to study it and look at it carefully, I had to come to the conclusion that there were, as you say, at minimum 2 stages of his coming. Yes. Okay, so as you say, whether, and I know some people will say straight up, straight down. So we go to meet him and he comes down straight away. Can we, to me, I find with that verse in Thessalonians being caught up, there has to be a rapture.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a rapture and we have a tribulation. Now, this problem then comes, are you pre, middle, post, or whatever? And so can you take us through that, of the various ideas that there are, of when that tribulation is going to take place, when that rapture is going to take place in line with the tribulation?
Well, you could actually start with, when does the tribulation take place?
Well,
the tribulation begins with the riding out of the Antichrist in Revelation 6, and most likely with some kind of a peace settlement arranged between Israel and the Palestinians and the Arab world, and a peace mood, which is followed rapidly by war and famine and death. So there will be some signs of the beginning of the tribulation. The midpoint of the tribulation is when the Antichrist and the false prophet together are running the show, if you like, and the false prophet erects the image to the beast, and then you have the 666 system brought in, which you can't buy or sell unless you have the mark of the beast. And that moves towards the final part, which is the gathering of the nations for Armageddon at the end of the tribulation period. And again, as you said, if you take Daniel and Revelation, there are passages which speak about periods of 3.5 and 7 years, which is why Bible scholars have said that this is a 7-year period. Now, the pre-tribulation view is that, now just run through some of the arguments, these aren't all of them, but Daniel 9, now Daniel 9 is a little bit complicated, but just to say in Daniel 9 you have a period of 70 weeks, which is a period of time given by the angel Gabriel to Daniel concerning the rebuilding of the temple and what it works out as being the end of days. So from 1 to 69 works out to the crucifixion of Christ. So you have specific prophecy in Daniel 9 which says that the Messiah will be cut off, not for himself,